Imperfect Thriving, episode 59. You have to listen, then you will know. I'm Catherine Ely, former attorney turned licensed counselor and coach. Oh yeah, and recovering perfectionist. It wasn't long ago that my self-criticism and fear kept me from having the self-worth, confidence, and courage to make my life my own. Through life lessons learned and by going back to school in my 40s, I am finally enjoying my life in a way I never thought possible, and it is amazing. I want you right here with me. No need for you to go back to school either. I created this podcast to show you the way to the imperfect thriving kind of life, based on what you value, filled with self-worth, confidence, way more joy, and no more regrets. So let's go.
See, this is something that I have also learned over the years, but especially in the past 2 to 3 years, it's gotten really strong in me. I believe that we all need to follow what brings us joy and do that, and not really worry about what others think, what others say. Will I succeed? Will I not? All these things. If something lights you up from within, then try it out and follow it fearlessly.
Today on the show, I have Susmitha Veganosaurus. She is a vegan chef, podcaster, meditation guide, artist, holistic business coach, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. She ran Carrots, which is India's first vegan restaurant, bakery, and culinary academy. And she's the host of The Feel Good Factor, a podcast about making happiness your highest priority. Susmitha mentors and coaches vegan women entrepreneurs and helps them grow their business in a joyful way with a focus on self-care and a mindset of abundance. And we have Susmitha with us all the way from India today. So I want to give a shout out to all my friends listening in India. We are so happy to have you along and so excited to have Susmitha here today. Just like the title of the podcast, you just have to listen and then you'll know when it comes to Susmitha. She has such a bright light. I can see it all the way from India, and you can just feel her kindness and compassion oozing through the airwaves. I just love talking to her. I'm uplifted every time we speak. So without further ado, here is Susmitha. Hope you enjoy. Susmitha, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here all the way from India.
Hi, Catherine. I'm so happy to be here too.
So I really want to start with your vegan journey. I have to confess, I am a meat lover, but I'm always open to change, and I really want to hear about your journey.
Sure. So I've been vegan since 2003. Before that, I've grown up vegetarian all my life, but that wasn't an ethical choice. It was just a cultural thing. A lot of people here in India, they grow up vegetarian, and that's how I was. I used to consume a lot of dairy products, milk and yogurt. Especially yogurt is a big part of our South Indian diet. We are very attached to it. And a lot of dairy. When I found out about what happens in the dairy industry, I realized I didn't want to support it anymore, because every mammal who has to produce milk, she has to give birth. So it's not like the olden days where they would allow the cows to naturally give birth and then take the milk. It became more like they would forcefully impregnate the cow to meet the demands of the dairy consumption, and a lot more of these things. And when I found out about it, I decided to become an ethical vegan. Of course, when I heard the term and when people told me about it, I was like, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I love milk. I love curds. I'm never going to give it up. But yeah, after a point, I kind of opened myself just to become more aware of what happens in the livestock industry. And that was it for me. Once you become aware, it's kind of no going back from there. After I turned vegan, like a year down the line is when I found out about all the bonus benefits, like the benefits to my health the benefits in my spiritual journey. I could meditate better, do Reiki better, all of it. So these things I didn't know about when I started out. I just thought it would be, okay, I'm just going to stop having animal products and I'm going to be vegan and that's about it. But it just changed my life entirely and it was such a positive experience.
I really want to dig into that a little bit. So I love how you began your vegan journey because of what you value, because of your ethics. And then later you realize the sort of benefits that you get are multifaceted. Tell me a little bit more about the benefits you noticed in your health.
Sure. So growing up, I was told that if you drink cow's milk, there's calcium, so you get better hair and all those things. Every night before bed, I would drink a glass of milk and go to sleep. And I'd gotten quite addicted to dairy because it does have addictive properties. And I used to love plain milk too, and then drink a lot of it and go to bed. And I used to constantly fall sick with a cough, cold, all the time sniffling. And I did not relate this to dairy because I just thought it's the pollution. I was riding around in a bike here. I just thought that's what it was. After I turned vegan, it took me a year. It dawned, I was living elsewhere. So I was in a slightly lesser polluted place. I wasn't going out as much. I initially thought, oh, it's because of that all my cold and cough, everything stopped. And then when I came back home to Bangalore and it just didn't come back. And I later connected it and I was like, oh, I see. It's because I've stopped animal products that I'm not falling sick as much as I used to anymore. And that was one thing. The other is I had gained a few vanity pounds, weight gain, weight loss, a little bit, few pounds here and there don't bother me so much. But I had gained them. And after I turned vegan, they just dropped. I was able to become a lot fitter without really doing too much in terms of exercise or anything like that. Like I naturally became more suited to what my body type is. And finally, I started getting a lot of energy. Generally an energetic person, but I think cutting out all animal products that helped me just become so much more vibrant.
That is exciting. And now that you say that about dairy, I'm thinking the same thing about myself. I eat very little dairy. I'm not vegan, but I don't drink regular milk. I drink almond milk and I really eat very little dairy, a little bit of cheese every now and then. I used to get sinus infection all the time, like once a month, and I don't get them at all anymore.
Yeah, dairy is quite dangerous. A lot of people realize that. So it makes a world of difference. And even though you're not vegan, cutting down the dairy, that does make a huge difference in terms of health and in terms of even for the animals, for the environment, all these things.
That too. Yes, definitely. So you've told me that milk, dairy, yogurt is really a big part of your culture and what most people eat in India. What is it like to be vegan in India?
See, the thing is, growing up in a tropical country, most of our food, even the people who eat meat, it's never meat heavy. It's lots of vegetables. We do a lot of rice and other grains, and we do a lot of pulses like lentils and chickpeas and things like that. These are big part of our food, of our traditional cooking, especially in the South where I'm from. We're not dairy dependent. It's just that people like to add a bit of dairy, have some yogurt on the side if the food is too spicy. We have something called curd rice, which is basically rice mixed with yogurt and a little bit of salt. And that is something that culturally we end the meal with, especially our lunch. But going vegan is really easy. It's not because of the alternatives that I'll come to, but because even if you just stop having dairy, you can still get plenty of food to eat. And we have lots of fresh fruits, vegetables, lots available quite easily growing here. So that made it easy for me to be vegan in India. But of course, because I love milk and yogurt and ice cream and these kinds of things, the moment I turned vegan, I started looking into alternatives. And back then, it wasn't so, soy milk was in the market, but other milks, not so much, not so commonly available. So I started making everything for myself. So I make all the dairy alternatives from scratch at home. So I know exactly what goes into it. So again, I feel like that keeps me healthier because I'm choosing just clean, pure ingredients and making them.
Yeah, I love that. Instead of having that all or nothing attitude of, well, I can't have dairy. Oh, well, you've found ways to enjoy what you used to enjoy about the dairy without it. I love that.
Yes. And when people ask me what advice I could give to new vegans, I always tell them this. I'm like, use alternatives. Don't just give up, because vegan is not about just giving up. It's about, I have found more joy after going vegan. One of the reasons is because I found more varieties of foods. Instead of one cow's milk or maybe buffalo's milk, I get to have maybe 20, 30 varieties of dairy alternatives now. So the variety in my life just increased.
Yes, we can always find a way if we want to, and we put a little mindfulness and intention to it. So, speaking of fruits and vegetables, I love the name of your restaurant, Carrots. I want to know a little bit the story behind the name and tell me a little bit more about your restaurant.
Sure. So Carrots was India's first vegan restaurant. It was started in 2013 by this guy called Krishna. I didn't start it. I started out going there as a very, very enthusiastic regular guest. And I would be like talking about them everywhere, because the very first vegan restaurant in India, and it's in my hometown. So I was very, very supportive of them. I would go teach them recipes, and I had a great connection with the team. So a little later in the year after the restaurant was started, Krishna asked me if I would like to join the team and become a part of it. And because of my interest in recipes and cooking and things like that, I was like, yeah, sure, let me do that. And within a couple of months, I was like, this is home. And then I invested and became a partner, and I took it over and started running things gradually. Carrots, the name is, when Krishna started the place, he was looking for something that is cute, short, easy to recall. And then the two carrots form a V. So our logo, V for vegan. So the logo has two carrots crisscrossed with each other that look like a V. So
Totally
it was
makes
a simple idea behind the name of the restaurant. We are not just a restaurant. So the restaurant is how it started off, but it's more of a movement, more of a place, a hub for vegans from across the city as well as across the country to come to us, learn from us, grow. We teach a lot of cooking and baking. So the culinary training is a big part of our restaurant. And we make everything from scratch in-house, whether it's baking, whether it's dairy alternatives, whatever it is. So we have a lot of knowledge which we like sharing to people so that they are empowered. And when somebody starts a new vegan business, we are always there to support them. We kind of act like a launch pad if somebody needs that. So these are just a few of the many things that the whole Carrots restaurant movement is about. But unfortunately, now the pandemic really, really affected us, the business, just like most other small businesses. And unfortunately, we'll have to close down soon.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, the pandemic has hit so many people hard, especially when it comes to restaurants and the service industry. But you are clearly a multi-passionate entrepreneur. So I know that you will have something else in the works soon. I've noticed through multiple conversations with you, what I absolutely love about you is that there is passion and purpose behind everything you do. And you do not just talk a good talk, you walk a good walk, and you put your action in the direction of what is important to you. This is not a question that I've ever asked any other guest, but I feel like you are the perfect guest to ask this. Do you have a general philosophy about life or a motto that you kind of live by?
Well, see, this is something that I have also learned over the years, but especially in the past 2 to 3 years, it's gotten really strong in me. I believe that we all need to follow what brings us joy and do that, and not really worry about what others think, what others say. Will I succeed? Will I not? All these things. If something lights you up from within, then try it out and follow it fearlessly. And I do believe in the universe's greater power, where there is a plan and you will be supported in whatever you do for however long it's meant to happen.
Well, I really love that because if what you're doing brings you joy, then you are successful.
Yes.
What is more important, right, than actually enjoying your life? That to me is the definition of success. It hasn't always been my definition of success, but it definitely is now. So I could not agree more. So I wanted to follow up a little bit and get your favorite dairy alternatives that you like to use in your different recipes.
Sure. So usually for my tea every day, I make cashew based milk at home. And it's either with just cashews or sometimes I add some flaxseed or sesame seeds. It's not a very particular thing. I just go with the flow, what I feel like doing. And then I grind up the cashews and then make the milk. It's really simple to do that. And cashew milk is very versatile. It can be used in desserts or any kind of cooking, like say if you're making pasta sauce and things like that. So cashew is quite versatile and it goes great with tea. And then in here again in the south of India, we use a lot of coconut in our cooking. So coconut milk is nothing new to us. It's just something that's been a part of some of the dishes that we make. So I like having coffee with coconut milk, and I like my favorite yogurt. I have a variety of them that I try, but my favorite is the one made with peanuts. You can make yogurt out of peanuts. And first time I discovered that, I was like, what? It was mind blowing to me. So yeah, these are just some of the dairy alternatives I use.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that with us because I'm going, what too? Like, I never would have thought of that. So that's great.
Catherine, I teach online dairy alternatives classes. So if you'd ever like to take it from me, I'd be happy to teach you.
Oh, that's so fun. Yes, I'll definitely have to look into that. So, following along those lines, what advice do you have for a listener who might be considering going vegan?
Well, to start with, like I said, don't look at it as a giving up or a deprivation. It's actually going to make your life just so much better and joyful if you approach it from a point of curiosity and interest and open mind. Try it like for a month, very strictly go vegan for a month, and then see for yourself the kind of difference that it makes in your energy levels, in your health, all these things. And the reason I say many people, they take different approaches to going vegan. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. Some people just gradually eliminate animal products and then they go vegan. But the reason I recommend this strict following it for a month at least is because, like I said, dairy has addictive properties. Some of the animal products also, they have certain other effects on your body. When you completely cut it out of your system, you are also detoxing yourself of that addiction. And
Mhm.
then a lot of us think this is not just for when it comes to veganism or food, but generally in life, a lot of us believe there are certain things we like, we are used to, and we think that we can never live without it. And there is nothing in the world that you can't live without. You can, if you make up your mind, not only can you live without it, you can live happily, joyfully without it.
Right. If you let go of that limiting belief that you just can't do it, you might be able to do it.
Absolutely. And of course, I also suggest that connect with other vegans or transitioning vegans. The community and a support system around you helps a lot because as vegans, it's easy to find alternatives, recipes online and all these things. But more than anything else, it's the people around you, the kind of questions that you might be asked. There are chances that some family members may be supportive. In some cases, there will be a severe lack of support. So then when you have other people who are on a similar journey to you, you'll be able to go through that very easily.
Oh, I completely agree. The relationships we have and the people that we spend time with greatly affect our behavior. And if the people that we're around aren't supporting these new habits, it makes it so much more difficult to actually follow through and make those your habits.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by your term conscious entrepreneurship. Will you explain that to me?
Yes, I believe being a conscious entrepreneur is the future because we can't just be caring about us or our own business anymore. We have to look at it from a wholesome perspective. whatever work you do, whatever product you create, whatever service you give, whatever it is, always look at how it is helping the world, helping others, and uplifting the vibrations of the world overall. And see how you can tweaking and keep on improving to make it better and better and better for everyone else around you, which of course you have to be conscious about loving yourself, charging your self-worth, all those things. Yes, absolutely. But it should go beyond that. It should go beyond just your business, because then it doesn't matter how long your business or whatever it is, your project, how long it lasts. Even if it disappears one day, you can still be satisfied because you have created these positive ripples across the world.
Yes, that is beautifully put. None of us live in a vacuum. All of our behaviors and everything that we put out in the world affects someone else. It might be a few people, it might be a lot of people, but we do need to keep that in mind, that what we do affects other people. So I really love that term and your definition of it. You told me earlier that veganism has even helped you spiritually. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been on the spiritual path from quite a young age. While I was in 11th grade, I discovered Reiki. Even before that, I was always curious about these things which are not very scientifically explainable, right? So metaphysics and things like that. And I always believed there's a greater power watching over us, supporting us, helping us. I just didn't have a definition for it. And I knew it wasn't whatever religions were teaching. Yes, there was some definitely powerful meaning to it, but it was still limited. I believed it was a lot more than just religious rules and things like that. So when I turned vegan, I started realizing that I was able to focus more whenever I meditated, and even whenever I did Reiki or other practices, I could feel more in tune with it, like a higher, like as if my vibrations just went up higher. And I believe this is because, again, like it comes back to the kind of cruel practices that are happening in the livestock industry. And I feel like if something comes from fear and pain and that much sorrow, and then you're just taking that and putting it into your body, it does pull you down. It does bring your vibrations down. And then you have to work twice as much to be more positive and to be more uplifted. So I'm not saying you can't be spiritual if you're not vegan, but I do feel that if you go vegan, it just goes hand in hand with the spiritual path, and it's just going to make it so much more easier for you to rise up and grow.
Yeah, I love that. So you have a meditation practice, right?
Yeah, it's nothing. I don't follow any one specific kind of meditation practice. These days, earlier it used to be more of listening to guided meditations. But again, in the more recent years, I've started to just meditate silently, just focus on my breath.
And so how long do you meditate, and do you meditate every day?
No, so I don't have a fixed routine like this. It's not something that I have to do. It's just a part of my life. Whenever I feel like, it's like drinking water. If I feel thirsty, I'll drink water the same way. If I feel like, okay, I need to meditate right now, I'll sit down and do it. I'm not as disciplined as I probably should be, because I know that just with what I do, if this much of a benefit happens in my life, then if I actually do it in a disciplined way, there will be a lot more benefits. But I want to do it like something of a chore. Oh, I have to do this. It's something that I like take pleasure and joy in.
Yeah.
And it can go anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes to half an hour or 1 hour, even if I feel really, really in tune with it.
So really what I'm hearing is you pay attention to your body and your mind, and you know when you need it.
Yes.
And so what have you found the benefits of meditation to be for you?
I think especially after getting into social media and smartphones and these things that have come up, which really take up a lot of your mental space. Most of your day is just going into this, and you have all these different thoughts and distractions and so many things that come up. And I feel like when I cut off and meditate, I'm able to still my mind to quite a large extent. And that helps, because then whatever stress or anything that I'm feeling, I'm able to kind of let that go through meditation. And that gives me clarity to take the next steps. And more than anything else, I think in one line, if I have to say, it fills me with hope that yes, there is a purpose and this is meant to be. You're going on the right path, because otherwise it's very easy to get into this, especially with the kind of year we went through last year, get into this cycle of questioning, like, what is it all? What does it mean? Why am I even doing anything? Why are we even bothering? These kind of questions do come up. And I think meditating helps me kind of get over these kind of thoughts.
Yes, there's so much noise in the world and so much going on all of the time that it is so easy to get caught up in our minds with worry about it and worry about things that we can't control. I think we do need to listen to our hearts and listen to our bodies more. And to do that, you really do just have to tune out all of that noise. I could not agree more. So I know that you have a podcast, because I have been honored to be a guest on that podcast, called The Feel Good Factor. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in podcasting and what your podcast is about.
Sure. So a couple of years ago, I think somewhere in the middle of 2018, I was listening randomly to podcasts before that, but I found the one most inspirational podcast for me, which I really resonated with, which is Alison Melody's Food Heals. And when I listened to that podcast, that specific episode, it was like meant for me. It was an episode where a bunch of really awesome entrepreneurs, these ladies, they were talking about spirituality and entrepreneurship and how you can manifest things and how you can attract abundance and success. All these things, many benefits of spirituality in business and things like that. And I actually was led to the podcast because I was following a chef who was doing the kind of work that I someday aimed to do. And that's how I discovered the podcast. I think it was maybe 45 minutes, an hour long. I don't remember the length of the episode. But as I was listening to it, I felt like my whole world opening up. I felt like there's so much potential that I can tap into. It just inspired me. So initially I was just listening to it, but that is where the seed got planted. I'm like, okay, one day I have to meet Alison. One day I have to do this. And I managed. Within a year of me listening to that podcast, I was actually on their Food Heals Italy retreat, and I was meeting Alison and Leslie and things like that. It was just amazing to be able to do that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was almost unreal for me that things just fell into place and I had manifested it. Then meeting them in person, meeting Ali in person, kind of cemented that idea more strongly in me that, okay, I have to do a podcast. Now, the feel good factor, it aligns with the philosophy I was talking about with you, about following your joy, about making your happiness your highest priority. That's all the podcast is about. And I interview people like yourself who have something motivating, positive, uplifting to share with the world. Some kind of really good advice that will help my listeners. Some good actions make some positive changes. And I also have some solo talks. I also record meditations as a part of the podcast. So it's a mix and match of multiple things. I could have easily done a podcast about veganism because that is my area of authority and I like talking about it. But I was doing so much content about veganism already. I have a YouTube channel. I have my Instagram. I was sharing recipes here, there, talking about it. So I'm like, okay, I have to do something a little bit different here. Though, yes, veganism keeps coming into it because that's a big part of who I am. But I didn't want it to be focused on that. I wanted it to be focused on the larger picture. And through my business, I was learning how I was prioritizing other people, other things, workaholic, all these things. And through that, I was learning so many lessons about how you can be a happier entrepreneur. So that again made me realize, okay, I have to talk about happiness on the podcast.
Well, I cannot recommend a podcast more than yours. I mean, everyone, you are experiencing Susmitha's incredible positive energy, and she brings it all the time, 24/7. I just love it. It's absolutely infectious. I know that you came with a gift for our listeners today. Will you tell us about it?
Yes. So I have a course called the Vegan Immersion Experience. And I would like to offer your listeners 20% off on it if they would like to avail it. The course is, again, it's a three-pronged approach. It's an approach to veganism, yes, of course, how to be vegan. So once you know you want to do it, once you know what it means, if you decide, okay, I want to go vegan, but I don't know how to go about it, this is the course for you. So the course has a mind, body, spirit approach. For the body, it's recipes. I've taught recipes, or I have shared tips about food and tips about alternatives. Like, okay, if you're using like the dairy alternatives I was talking about, or say if you're using eggs in your baking, what do you replace it with, and some hacks and things like that. And plus a few of my favorite recipes, which I've recorded on video. And then for the mind, I have shared a lot of mindset techniques, because these are things, again, I have learned over the years. It's not just about being vegan, but it's about actually being happy and joyful about it and spreading that out into the world. So how slight shifts in your mindset can actually make this journey more frictionless and smooth for you. And then finally, for the spirit, I have meditations, I have spiritually aligned techniques like affirmations and so forth. So this is what the vegan immersion experience is all about. It's a 1-month course. I've given a code to Catherine, and when you use that, you get 20% off.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That sounds amazing. And I will definitely include the information in the show notes so everyone knows exactly where to go to get it. So besides your vegan immersion experience, where can we learn more about you and what you offer online?
Sure. You will find all the information on my website, which is veganosaurus.com, veganosaurus.com. That's my website. And all the different things I do, all my passions, everything about me, I've shared on there. I'm most active on Instagram, in social media. I'm not on Facebook. So you can connect with me there at Veganosaurus again.
Okay, we will definitely do that. And I'll include all that in the show notes as well. So I like to wind up every podcast by asking my guest the same question, which is, what is one imperfect action you suggest we all take today to get closer to our best lives?
As we have started a new year, and as we need a fresh start, we need to attract new things, what I'd like to say is focus on letting go. Now, just because we are committed to something, and just because we have poured our many years or time, our life, our passion into something, it doesn't mean that you always have to stay committed to it. You have to hold on to it no matter what. That is what we all believe. We think that, okay, I've put everything into this relationship or this business or this project, whether it brings you joy or not, whether it is easy or a struggle, I have to stick with this. And you don't have to stick with it. If it's a struggle, if it's not bringing you happiness, if it's causing more stress than the joyfulness in you, then let it go, because that's when you create space for new things in your life, which are meant for you, for your higher growth.
Okay, so I absolutely second that motion. And I promise that I did not ask Susmitha to say that, but it leads me straight into a pitch for the rest of the episodes this month and past episodes. So I love that. We just finished a series about decluttering our lives, and we focused on closets, relationships, environment, minds, and calendars. So if y'all missed any of those episodes, just go back and catch up to the rest of us, because it is about letting go of what does not serve your purpose, what does not set you up for the life you want, and does not bring you joy. So I completely agree, Susmitha, and I appreciate you being on the show today. I've had so much fun talking with you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm looking forward to listening to all those episodes too. I think we need more and more of that out there right now. And thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure.
Well, I hope we can talk again soon.
Sure.
If you are enjoying this podcast, would you take a moment to go to iTunes and subscribe? It is so easy to do, and it would mean a lot. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to the subject matter covered. This is given with the understanding that neither the host or guests are providing legal, mental health, or other professional information. If you need a professional, I encourage you to reach out to one.